Okay, people, here we are back, and as you can see, I've got a box. I have been shopping. Unfortunately, a friend of mine said to me, "Hey, Gesine, I would like to buy a couple of games from this shop, but it's in Canada, so I'm going to pay huge amounts of money on the shipping. Maybe if we combined our orders, we could make a deal on this." And I'm like, okay, well, I decided not to buy any games anytime soon, but then again, I'm helping a friend here, a friend in need. So I went to the website and I said to myself, there won't be a single game you want. Unfortunately, and I'm not telling you a lie, I started off with one game. Then I found a second game. Then I wrote him a couple of days later, have you already placed the order? No, I'm not going to do it until Tuesday because I want to give another friend of ours the chance to take a look as well. It's like, okay, because I have another game. And then I added, over the course of this email exchange, 4 games to the order, and I had decided not to buy any games this year. Well, now, I'm totally excited because this game store held copies in shrink of out-of-print games. So I give you, without any further ado, The Defense of Ruark's Drift, and you will soon realize that there is actually a theme to the shopping spree that I went on. So this is Ruark's Drift. It's a very low complexity game, and its solitaire suitability is medium to low. Well, this is actually for the Boer War, where you should play opposed. So this actually contains two games. Ruark's Drift is medium, and of course, as you know, I usually play games solo, but you can even play an opposed game solo if you like, just to understand the mechanics. The next one is a game, and I completely blame my co-video YouTubers on for this one, which I saw, and I believe it was actually Derek Case who played Victoria Cross 2. Now this game is also out of print, and it's a implementation of Victoria Cross. Now, Victoria Cross, for those of you who know, the original game was a block game. This is not a block game, and it actually contains 2 games, the Battle of Isandlwana and Ruark's Drift. Now, those of you who have been watching my channel for a good while know that I got really intrigued with the Zulu Wars, and so I've always thought it's a really interesting topic. I've read books on it. But the only game that I ever had that deals with this particular topic is actually Zulus on the Ramparts. And since they also had it, I got a second copy of it, because the one that I have is, it's fine. But you don't want to overdo it either, because it has very small components. So I just got myself another copy of it, just because I'm afraid I might, it might get destroyed. It's the flimsy version, Unfortunately, you can't seem to get the boxed edition anywhere. So here in Europe, at least, I don't know what happened to it. So I got this one just for nostalgic reasons, to complement my Zulus expansion. So what you can see here is I'm going to play a lot of African wars this time round. And another thing, those of you who have been looking at the unboxing videos that I've done and what I bought last year may have detected that I'm interested, or I've developed an interest in the Pacific theatre in the Second World War. So I've got this game, or these games here, well, I have to just pull them out. This is Islands of the Damned, the Wake Island and Pilelu game by Against the Odds. These are two games that came with the Against the Odds special edition, and I've only played, I think, Wake Island, and it's a brilliant game. So I'm going to actually dedicate this year to the Pacific Theatre. You know that I also have Fleet Commander Nimitz. I finally got round to sorting the counters, and those of you who watched my unboxing will remember that it actually fell apart as I unboxed it. All of the counters had come out of their counter sheets, and after sorting them for 3 evenings, because there is hundreds of them, I found that 2 are missing. I wrote to Dan Versen Games to see, is it possible to get a counter scan of these 2 counters, or to even just, I don't know, maybe I wasn't even hoping for replacement counters, but I would have wanted the backside of these counters, because you can download the counter scans of the front sides of those Nimitz counters from the Dan Versen website. And as you know, I always scan all of my counters back and front for each game before I punch them, because I'm afraid that I might lose them and then I can replace them. Unfortunately, Dan Versen Games has decided not to answer my email. That's too bad. But then again, yeah, I'm just one customer. So, in order to play a little more in that theatre, I have decided to get Heroes of the Pacific by Lock and Load Publishing. Now, I've got a love-hate relationship with Lock and Load. I don't trust them as a company because it's absolutely impossible to pre-order stuff in Europe. Retailers that I've spoken to refuse to carry Lock and Load titles or to pre-order for them because there have been issues. And as you know, it took me 3 years to get my Anzac Attack expansion. And now I realize that this game doesn't exist any longer. Now it has been re-implemented as Heroes of Nam, I believe, together with the main game that it expands. And Heroes of the Pacific, I had been eyeing this. I had actually pre-ordered this on the website. They never got back to me. I tried to pre-order it through, I think, Hexasim. Hexasim took the pre-order and then cancelled it, saying we're not going to take any pre-orders from Lock and Load anymore because they're so unreliable. And I was just like, you know what, yeah. So I've decided I like the Lock and Load system, but I can't pre-order. And since it seems impossible to get these games in Europe, I pretty much can't access them. But I got this one anyway because this Canadian company had one on the shelf, and I thought, okay, you just got to go for it. The price was reasonable, so I'm going to do a shrink wrap of this, but not today. Really looking forward to this. And next is something that doesn't belong to me, but it's my friend's book. Well, I'm going to show it to you anyway. It's it's a book for the Anima Beyond Fantasy RPG. And this is now my latest and newest acquisition of all of these, because some of these titles are really old, and I think Heroes of the Pacific is also last year. I give you D-Day at Pelelu, or Pelelu. This game, the D-Day series is, I think, they've 4 out now. D-Day at Omaha Beach, D-Day at Takagawa, I want to say, but it's probably wrong. And then I think there is another one, and then D-Day at Pelelu. Now, these are complete solitaire games. I don't think you can even try and play them opposed. They're by decision games. I've watched dozens of playthroughs of different games, except this one, because it is very, very new. And I find the Battle of Pelelu itself quite intriguing. I've read a couple of articles about it. I've watched a couple of documentaries. One was actually on YouTube the other day by NHK Documentary. I really recommend that you check it out. Because Pelelu is interesting for various reasons. But what is most interesting for me is that it marks a change in the tactics of the Japanese. In that instead of going for an all-out banzai attack that is, almost or quite self-destructive, this was the first time that the forces of the empire decided to turn this war into a protracted, almost like a guerrilla-like warfare. So it changed completely the way this battle was fought, and nobody expected it to turn into this meat grind kind of months long battle. And I mean, there were some interviews with survivors from both sides, and the American Marines said, well, we were told it'll take you 2, tops 3 days. They were actually there for, I think it was 80 days, if I'm not mistaken. And it was a horrible, horrible, horrible battle. It wasn't really one battle. It was a series of skirmishes as they were moving through that island and trying to take it. And there was only a handful of survivors in the Japanese camp, and it was apparently, if I recall correctly, the battle where the Marines lost the most number of troops in one, if you like, battle theatre in this period of time. So it was the bloodiest one for them, and it is a very interesting. It's actually D-Day at Tarawa. I can read it here. It is a very interesting story from a historical point of view, and I've also always been eyeing this system, because the D-Day system, with the coloured hexagons and the different lines of fire and so on and so forth, and the activation using cards has intrigued me. But I'm not so interested in this whole Omaha Beach thing. It was never my thing, really. But this is now also a battle theatre, the Pelelo one, that I can also compare to how it's been implemented in the Islands of the Damned, which is of course a different setup. It's also this is a magazine game, whereas this is a fully developed boxed game, and of course there would be differences anyway. But to see how different people deal with implementing or playing out this battle in the form of a war game is something that has interested me in the past, as you know, which is also why I want to do a revisit of Zulus on the Ramparts, then Victoria Cross, Rorke's Drift, and of course then also the defense of Rorke's Drift by actually, who brought this one out? EW is the name of the company, or MW or MMWW. Well, anyway, I've no idea actually who brought this out. But it was printed in 1991 and it was made in the USA, and it's 3W. Sorry, the the name of the company is actually 3W Inc. Cambria, California. And when I look at the game here, the Rorke's Drift actually consists of different scenarios. There is the evacuation of the hospital, which is a solitaire scenario, the assault on the hospital, which is an introductory 2-player, and then the defense of Rorke's Drift, which is the true historical scenario, then evacuate to help Makar, the Zulu fantasy scenario, and the stand and fight, design your own perimeter. And the Boer War in 1899, the British were faced by a rebellion by the Boers in what is now South Africa. Initially, the war was fought in a conventional manner, with entrenched defenders and sieges, which was, you know, of course, conventional for that time. However, within a year, the conflict developed into a bitter guerrilla war, with as many as 250,000 British troops hard-pressed to defeat 20,000 Boers. Among the game's features are leaders, Boer evasion and infiltration, armoured trains, British disease, attrition, and Kitchener's concentration camps, scorched earth program, and pillbox line. Players may elect to play any of 3 games: the conventional war, the guerrilla war, or the entire campaign game. So for Rourke's Drift, you get 400 die-cut counters, charts and tables, and for the Boer War, you get 200. So you can play both with 2 or more players. Well, I guess you can have 2 players, and then they get other people to advise. Well, I'm really looking forward to this. The Victoria Cross one, again, 2. This came out by Worthington Games, and I'm really actually quite sad that there is no. I mean, Worthington Games is still around, and they produce really lovely games, but there is no mention of this game. I don't know why they don't reprint it, because it's just a beautiful game. I mean, even just like the map that you may be able to see here is just in its simplicity. It's just beautiful. Anyway, and then I've got another Pacific game, and it's called Blood in the Bowlands, I believe, and I believe actually it is by Worthington Games. I think it's one of their folio games. So, and now of course comes the big point that people who play games in general contend with, and that is time. When will I be playing these games? Well, as you know, I'm in the middle of my second semester studying maths and statistics at the Open University, and the final exam will be on the 7th of June. Now, due to various considerations, I will not be taking up the next semester in October, but I will defer until, and I can actually do this and choose freely, I will take up the next semester in February 2017, so that I actually have my semester from February to September rather than October to June, because I realized this year that actually not having time off during Christmas, because I was working on my maths every single day, actually was quite tiresome and tiring. So I've decided not to do this and anymore, and to basically have the Christmas break as a real break. So I should have a lot of time to play these, and I'm really looking forward to this. And yeah, I hope you will join me on my journey to the Pacific and to South Africa. And yeah, keep gaming.